because I don't think we got very far into this the other day. I don't think we got as far as my other two classes. I think we left off around, in the PDF version, around line 245. Oedipus comes out after the first chorus song and says, "You pray to the gods, pray to me instead. I'm going to speak out as a stranger to the story, as a stranger to the crime," etc., etc. Okay? We didn't discuss this part, right? Anybody? I don't think so. Okay. We won't finish Oedipus today. We'll finish Oedipus on Monday. And I'll post a quiz. The quiz will be over all the background to drama stuff and all of Oedipus the King. I might go ahead and post it today. I will encourage you, and I'll send an email. I'll encourage you to wait to take it until after Monday's class. Monday we'll finish Oedipus the King. It won't be due until Wednesday at the earliest. So that'll still give you a couple of days. So he then goes on, and the speech is broken down into 2 or 3 parts, because he speaks and then he gives the audience, not the people sitting out in the stands, but the people of Thebes within the world of the play, who are represented by the chorus. He gives them an opportunity to reply, okay, at 2 or 3 different points. So he says, first, beginning around line 254. If any of you knows who murdered Laius, the son of Labdacus, I order him to reveal the whole truth to me. Nothing to fear, even if you have to denounce yourself. That is, even if you are the murderer, you have nothing to fear. What does he mean? Worst thing that's going to happen to you, you'll be banished. I won't kill you, I won't torture you. You'll just be kicked out of Thebes. Okay? Long pause. Why? He's waiting for a reply. Nobody replies. So, that option off the table. You've had your chance. Okay? Next, if anyone knows the murderer is a stranger, a man from alien soil, speak up, and I'll give you a reward. So if you know who the murderer is, and the murderer isn't from Thebes, speak up, I'll give you a reward. Again, silence. So it's clear, nobody in the audience is the murderer. Nobody in the audience knows, again, chorus, nobody in the audience knows who among all the people of Thebes is the killer, or that the killer is from outside Thebes, okay? Again, no takers. But if you keep silent, if anyone panicking, trying to shield himself or friend or kin, rejects my offer, here's what I'm going to do. I order you, every citizen of the state where I hold throne and power, banish this man. If you know who the killer is, okay, so take the previous 2 things, and if the killer is someone in Thebes, whether a stranger or a native Theban-born person, and you know who that is, you are to shun that person. What does that mean? You have to banish this person. You never shelter him, never speak a word to him, never make him a partner to your prayers, never let holy water touch his hands. You must drive him out. So, Thebes is not a megalopolis. It's not New York. It is, at this point in time, probably no more than 1,000 or a couple thousand people. He's saying, if the murderer is here and everybody follows my curse, does what I just told them to do, that person is going to stick out like a sore thumb. Because everybody's going to be backing away, all right? Both figuratively and metaphorically. That person is the plague, drive that person out. I fight for the God and for the murdered man. Okay? So that's on those who might know who the murderer is. Now, to the murderer himself or herself, here's my curse. Whoever he is, a lone man, unknown in his crime, or one among many. Why does he throw out the one among many? Because we've been told there were thieves, multiple, okay? Or one among many. let that man drag out his life in agony step by painful step. Now, when a person, especially a king, issues a curse like this, a curse is an oath to the gods, essentially. Or it is a calling down of the righteous judgment / indignation of the gods on the person who is being cursed. So, gods, when this person is made known, whoever he is, let that man drag out his life in agony step by painful step. I curse myself as well. Pause. And the pause probably indicates, or the way the pause probably works, is the audience, the people sitting out in the seats, kind of go, oh, dramatic irony. He's just cursed himself. And again, when a curse is made, that curse will be fulfilled. In ancient Greek literature, when somebody curses somebody else, the gods see to it. That if the curse, let me qualify that. If the curse is valid, if you curse someone who is not deserving of a curse, probably not going to do anything. But when the person is guilty of a crime, then it's going to have force. I curse myself as well. Pause. If by any chance he proves to be an intimate of our house, that is, someone who lives in the palace. But then he goes farther. Here at my hearth. See, you can live in the palace, but not share the hearth. The hearth is the center of the communal activity in the home. It's like that, even if the person sits at my own dinner table, with my full knowledge, may the curse I just called down on him strike me. Well, as the audience knows, the person is an intimate of the palace. The person is someone who shares the hearth, and the curse will fall down on him. So these are your orders. Okay? And he goes on and talks about the dead king. He goes, you should have searched for him. You should have found out the murderer. I hold the throne he held in. I possess his bed. I have a wife who shares our seed. Why, our seed might be the same, children born of the same mother. And that's where the whole tragic irony really gets, ew. You get that heightened ew factor. He doesn't realize what he's saying. The whole audience does. So I will fight for him as if he were my father. Stop at nothing. Search the world, etc. Okay? Oh, dear gods, my curse on those who disobey these orders. So, you loyal men of Thebes, who approve my actions, may our champion Justice, notice, Justice is the one that will make sure these curses are enacted. May Justice and may all the gods be with us, fight beside us to the end. The leader steps forward. The leader is the leader of the chorus of old men. Okay? This is probably the third character that Sophocles introduced to Greek plays. Remember I mentioned, your book mentions, he introduced the third speaking part. And notice what the leader says. Not the murderer. I'm not stepping forward to admit anything. I'm not stepping forward to say I know anything. I'm not the murderer. I can't point him out. As for the search, finding out who is the source of this corruption, Apollo should do that. What is the leader just essentially told Oedipus he should do? Make Apollo tell us who did it. Who's Apollo? God of wisdom, it should be. God of inspiration, God of poetry. He's the God at the Oracle of Delphi. He's the one who delivers the prophecies to the oracle who then tells them to the prophets. But he's a God. How do mere puny humans make gods do anything. Oedipus. Yeah, but to force the gods to act against their will, no one has that power. In other words, who do you think you are? Okay, then let's go for the next shot. What is it? Tiresias. Sin for Tiresias. Okay? Oedipus says, already taken care of. Crayon suggested that. And again, just as before, he says, I'm surprised he isn't here. Just as before, when Oedipus comes out, because the chorus is out there praying in front of his idols, his altars, Oedipus says, I'm surprised Crayon isn't here. Because he was sent to the oracle. Okay? Tiresias comes in. Notice Crayon doesn't. Crayon is not the one, or Creon, if you want, is not the one leading Tiresias. So Tiresias comes in. And listen how Oedipus addresses him. O master of all the mysteries of our life, all you teach and all you dare not tell, signs in the heavens, signs that walk the earth, blind as you are, you can feel all the more what sickness haunts our city. You, my Lord, are the one shield, the one Savior we can find. It's the help us Obi-Wan Kenobi thing. You're the only one who can tell us the source of our problem. Okay? Within a span of about 400 lines, Oedipus is going to do a complete 180. Okay? So, he says, we are in your hands, 357. Tiresias. How terrible to see the truth when the truth is only pain to him who sees. Oedipus, you don't know what a burden it is to know the truth. I knew it well, but I put it from my mind. Else I never would have come. Notice, I knew it well. Past tense. I knew who the murderer was, but I put it away. Buried that. He says, otherwise I wouldn't have come. Kind of implies, but now I've remembered. What? Why so grim? Why so dire? Just send me home. You bear your burdens, I'll bear mine. It's better that way. Please believe me. Why does he say you bear your burdens before he says I will bear mine? What is Oedipus's job? His title, his position. He's king. Lots of burdens come with that job. Lots of knowledge, lots of secrets come with that job. You bear your responsibilities, I'll bear mine, and we'll just not say anything. Strange response. Unlawful. Now there's a big difference between strange and unlawful. Why does he say Tiresias' response is unlawful? Oedipus has said, tell us what you know. It's the king speaking. That's a command. You would withhold the word of God. I fail to see that your own words are so well timed. Let's back up. Strange response, unlawful, unfriendly to the state that bred and reared you. In other words, you would keep secret to yourself a solution that would solve the problem the state that bred and reared you has. You would keep to yourself the solution to the plague. Tiresias, I fail to see that your own words are so well timed. He's suggesting the words I have, they're not well timed for right now. And your words aren't well timed either, Oedipus. And when he says that well timed, he means they're not well timed for who? For Oedipus. For the love of God, don't turn away. We beg you. All of us on our knees. And if I were directing, Oedipus should fall down on his knees in an act of prayer. When the play opens, The chorus is on their knees in front of that altar. When Oedipus comes back out and says, you pray to the gods, pray to me. They should be on their knees. And now Oedipus is on his knees. It's an act of humility. I don't mean act. He's merely pretending. It's an action of humility. Tiresias, none of you knows, and I will never reveal my dreadful secrets, not to say your own. None of you knows. Pause. It's like he's going one direction and he veers intellectually so that he says something slightly different of what he was planning. I will never reveal my dreadful secrets, not to mention yours. Well, what kind of dreadful secrets does he have? Is he talking solely about the secrets he knows about Oedipus? It's possible. I think it's possible he means more. That I know an awful lot. I'm not going to reveal all of that. And I won't reveal your dreadful secrets either, Oedipus. But even that final statement, what does that tell us? If he won't reveal them, it means what? He chooses not to. He can, in other words. I know your secrets, Oedipus. It's like, when the minister proverbially sneaks up behind people and says, I see what's behind your black veil. Well, Tiresias knows all those secrets. What? You know and you won't tell? You're bent on destroying Thebes? I'd rather not cause pain for you or me. Notice Tiresias' reply. I'm not talking about Thebes. I'm talking about you, Oedipus, and me. If I speak, what's his point? You're going to suffer pain. And because Oedipus is going to suffer pain, Tiresias is going to suffer pain. If I tell you the truth, what I know about you, you are going to torture me. So, why this useless interrogation? You're not going to get anything out of me. You won't talk? Nothing moves you? Come on, speak. You criticize my temper? Pause. Notice Tiresias uses all of these dramatic pauses before he then says something really important. Unaware of the one you live with, you revile me? What does it mean to revile someone? To hold them in utter contempt. To be completely disgusted with that person. Okay? Joe Biden holds Donald Trump in utter contempt. He is reviled by Donald Trump. Donald Trump is reviled by Joe Biden. I mean, totally the same. Okay? What's he getting at? Well, look at what he actually said. You don't even know who you live with, and you revile me. It's Tiresias. It's almost like Tiresias is saying, man, if I had eyes, I wouldn't bear to look at you. It's so foul. Who could restrain his anger at hearing you? How do you expect me to hold my temper when I hear the words you say? And it just riles me up even more. What will come, even if I shroud it all in silence. What does that mean, what will come, will come? How do you define fate? What will come, will come. There is nothing you can do about it. There is no stopping it. In a few pages, Tiresias is essentially going to say, everything that has happened from the moment I got here, what will come, will come. It was essentially fated to happen. Even if I shroud it all in silence, even if I hide everything, Oedipus, he's saying Laius' murderer will be discovered. Even if Tiresias were to not tell, somehow that truth will be revealed. Okay? What will come? You got to at least tell me that. I'm not going to say anything else. Do as you like, build your anger to whatever pitch you please. To whatever pitch you please. What does that mean? Pitch refers to angle. Okay? When he's not angry, nice, to use a sailing metaphor, nice even keel. When he gets angry, the pitch rises. Okay? The angrier you get, if you're talking with somebody, what happens to your voice? It gets higher and higher and higher and louder and louder and louder. Okay? Rage your worst. And what does Oedipus do? He goes from a 0 degree pitch straight to 90. You plotted against me. You helped hatch the plot, and you did the work. Well, okay, short of killing him. Why? Because you're blind. You couldn't have seen him to kill him. How's that for raging? What evidence does Oedipus have to make that accusation? What proof? Nothing. There is not a scintilla of data that supports that. Okay? Tiresias. Oh, really? Notice he said he's going to keep silent. What did Oedipus do? He pushed the right buttons. So now Tiresias is responding, but not in kind. He's not responding in the same way as Oedipus did. Oedipus jumped at conclusions. Oedipus, we're going to see, is rash. If he has, to use the term that's used in your book, the term Aristotle uses, hamartia, which often gets translated as a fatal flaw, which remember, the book suggests, and I state, is not a good translation of this. This means to miss the mark. But if it is this, it's this. If he has some defect in character, it's he is rash. You say something, who's he like in that sense? That we've already read about. Other work. What are we told about Abner Snopes? He has this latent, ravenous ferocity about the rightness of his own actions. That's this. Okay? So, man, that bird's loud. So, he says, is that so? Okay, listen then. Submit to that decree you just laid down. From this day onward, speak to no one, not these citizens, nor me. You're the curse, the corruption of the land. Is that clear and direct? It's close. It's almost. It's going to take him a few lines before Tiresias really spells out the truth. He says, you think you can get away with this? Oedipus knows what Tiresias just said. Tiresias, I already have. What does he mean? I've already said it. Can you unsay? No, you can't. The truth with all its power lives inside me. That's Tiresias' way of saying, Oedipus, you can't touch me. Okay? Who primed you for this? Now, prime is a kind of a plumbing, hydraulic terminology. In order to prime a pump, you've got to get water in it first. If you try to siphon gasoline, I had to do many times as a kid, when you try to siphon gasoline out of a tank, you got to put a hose in and suck it so all the air gets out and the water will flow. Who primed you? Who put you up to this? He's suggesting. Not your prophets. Look at the terminology he uses. Not your prophets' trade. What is meant by trade? I'm assuming, go with the assumption, if it's not true. Every one of you has a job. Why? Why do you work? Louder? To make money. You go, you perform an action, you do something, you have a skill, and in recompense for that, you receive money. You are involved in trade in that sense. Maybe you sell something. You make something, you sell it, you receive money in exchange. It's an exchange system. What has Oedipus just said about Tiresias? You prophesy for money. He's equated his gift. See, prophecy, even to the ancient Greeks, it was a gift. It was something bestowed by the gods that one, could not really control. You know, if you look at the biblical version, the Old Testament version, how does a prophecy often begin? Thus says the Lord. And it's like God taps somebody on the shoulder and says, here's what I want you to say. And it's like, open the mouth and, out it comes. Okay? He says, I've got that truth living in me. Who put you up to this? Not your prophets. Trade. Bought and sold for. You did. You forced me. You twisted it out of me. Did he? Did he take Tiresias' hand and twist it behind his back? Did he start to torture him? Waterboard him to make... No, not really. All right? Say it again so I can understand it. I've already said it. No, say it again. I want to be sure I'm hearing you correctly. Tiresias, I say you are the murderer you hunt. So, you're not just the corruption, you are the murderer. Now, could it be clearer? Yes, it could. How could it be clearer? I say you are the murderer of Laius. That would be clearer. Or you can even make it active. I say you murdered Laius rather than the murderer of. Whew. By God, you'll pay. You want more? So you can really rage? I've got more. I can tell you more. Go ahead. He says, your words are nothing, futile. You cannot imagine. Pause. What's he going to say after that? You can't imagine what? What trouble you're in. You can't imagine what horrible things you've done. Pauses. Catches himself. I tell you, you and your loved ones live together in infamy. You cannot see how far you've gone in guilt. And he's back to speaking in riddles. You think you can keep saying stuff like this and never suffer? Notice, Oedipus understands something there. He's just said something about his... Tiresias has just said something about Oedipus' family. Tiresias, if the truth has any power, then yes, I can keep up without suffering. It doesn't for you, old man. You are stone blind, stone deaf, senses, eyes, blind as stone. He says, I pity you, flinging insults at me that are going to apply to you so soon. Why? He's prophesying. That is a prophecy. Based on what? Oedipus' curse. Okay. Blind, lost in the night, endless night that nursed you, you can't hurt me or anyone else who sees the light. Oedipus thinks what? Throughout the story, well, not quite throughout, but most of it, he thinks he's the one with sight, he's the one living in light. Tiresias is blind, he's the one surrounded by darkness. And he's going to make a statement here. I think I might have skipped over it, where he talks about Tiresias being born without eyes, which is what leads scholars to think Tiresias probably was born with eye sockets, but no eyeballs. Okay? And what does Oedipus do? Crayon. Crayon put you up to this. Why does he jump to that conclusion? We are given a tiny little detail a little bit earlier. Who suggested Tiresias be brought in? Crayon. Okay? So, Crayon is your downfall. Crayon is not your downfall. No, you are your own. And then Oedipus launches off into this power, wealth, and empire, blah, blah, blah. Okay? When did you ever, skipping a few lines, 440 something, tell me, when did you ever prove yourself a prophet? Did you solve the riddle of the Sphinx? Tiresias, nope. Are we ever told why? Nope. Does being a prophet mean you have to solve all the problems? Nope. Prophets only work when the gods speak to them. Only when the gods decide to reveal something. You know, I put this up here the other day. You've got the gods and fate out there and us down here, and they're kind of pulling our marionette strings. Every now and then, the gods will, whether through the oracle at Delphi or some other means, give somebody an inkling of truth, an insight. That becomes a burden for that individual. Okay? So, how come you couldn't solve the riddle of the Sphinx? Where were you then? Did you rise then? No, he says, I came. I solved the riddle of the Sphinx. What good are prophets? The leader, he spoke out of anger, Lord. The leader is talking about Tiresias. Tiresias didn't really mean what he said. You pushed him too far, in other words. Okay? The leader says, what we need to do, we need to kind of get away from our personalities. We need to go back to what the oracle said and try to figure out that. Tiresias, you are the king, no doubt, but in one respect, 465, but in one respect at least, I am your equal. Now that's kind of dangerous language. The right to reply, I came that privilege too. So what does he mean? He's his equal. Apparently, Theban law, again, this is written by Sophocles, who had been a high civil leader as well as a military leader, a general in the Peloponnesian Wars against Sparta. Athenian law granted every citizen had a right to a public defense of charges brought against them. Okay? I don't mean a public defender, but had the right to publicly refute those charges. Had a right to a trial by jury. In this case, in the case of Athens, senators. That's why Socrates is allowed a trial before he's found guilty and killed. Tiresias is saying, you may be king, but you can't throw out these wild accusations and not allow me to respond. All right? So, he says, here's his response. You mock my blindness? Let me tell you this. Okay, pause for a second. What does it mean to mock something? Okay, but is mocking kind? Is it nice? No, it's not. Because what are you doing when you mock somebody? You mock some aspect of their character. Mocking, as opposed to helpful criticism, mocking is more about something they have no control over. Racism, perfect example. Can you mock someone for the color of their skin? You can. Is it something, even if they want to, that they could change? No. Can you mock someone for being short? You can. Can they change it? See, mocking is not satire. Satire is mocking someone over some behavioral action, over something they do, so that you try to get them to change their actions. Okay? He's saying, you mock my blindness. I can't help being blind. There's nothing I can do about it. But you, with your precious eyes, you're blind to the corruption of your life, to the house you live in, those you live with. So, you're blind to the corruption of your life. You're blind to the house you live in. You're blind to those you live with. Long dramatic pause. Who are your parents? What? What does Oedipus's parents have anything to do with the murder of lives? So when Tiresias throws that question out there, that's probably the first thing Oedipus like, what the hell is this old man talking about? Because he doesn't stop there and Oedipus gets a response. He goes on. So pause. Who are your parents? Do you know? Notice, no pause. He doesn't give him a blank to reply. Do you know? All unknowing, you are the scourge of your own flesh and blood. Scourge. That is, instrument of justice. Instrument of wrath. The dead below the earth and the living here above, and the double lash of your mother and your father's curse will whip you from this land one day, their footfall treading you down in terror, darkness shrouding your eyes that now can see the light. So this corruption in his life has something to do with his parents. Put yourself in Oedipus's shoes when these lines are said. My parents are Polybus and Merope of Corinth. Polybus is the king, Merope, his wife, is the queen. Those are my parents. Why is the old man bringing up my parents? What does he mean? My parents curse. Mom and Dad love me. They would never curse me. Soon, Tiresias is going on. He hasn't stopped. He hasn't given a pause. You'll scream aloud. What haven won't reverberate? What rock of Kithron won't scream back in echo, etc., etc. Okay? He says, that day you learn the truth about your marriage, the wedding march that sang you into your halls, the lusty voyage home. Lusty means full of pleasure. To the fatal harbor. What's a harbor? That is the place the mariners go home to. But this is a lusty, fatal harbor. Lusty, place he's going to take pleasure, but it will bring ultimately his death. The lusty, fatal harbor is his mother. Sexually. She's the one he goes home to. He's unaware of that. He says, there. Now I've revealed my secrets. Now smear us with insults. Crayon, me, every word I've said. No man will ever be as brutally rooted from the earth as you. Rooted means pulled out. What was Oedipus's curse on the murderer? To get no shelter, to get no aid, to get no help, to never be welcome anywhere, to find no haven. Okay? And when he comes around to write the play, Oedipus at Colonus, we will see from the end of this play to that moment, that's been Oedipus's life. He's always been a wanderer. Okay? Oedipus, get him out of here. Tiresias, I wouldn't have come, but you made me. If I thought you would blurt out such absurdities, you'd have died waiting. Tiresias, 496. Absurd? What does absurd mean? Without reason. Absurd? To you, not to your parents. In other words, everything I say, it doesn't make any sense to you. Oh, but it did to your parents. Again, Oedipus has to think, when did Tiresias meet Polybus and Merope? See, Tiresias is a Theban prophet. He's not a Grecian prophet. They thought me sane enough. When? Parents? Who? Parents? Who? Who what? Where's he going? You mean Polybus and Merope? But he thinks back to before the end of Tiresias. Who is my father? What makes him ask that question? He received a prophecy. First he heard it from a drunk. Polybus isn't your father. Then he heard it from the oracle. And what did the oracle say? The oracle didn't say, Polybus isn't your father. The oracle said, you are fated to kill your father and sleep with your mother. Who is my father? This day will bring your birth and your destruction. That is, it will bring to light. Today, Oedipus, you're going to discover your real parents. You're also going to discover your real destruction. Doesn't mean he's going to die. Riddles. All you do is speak in riddles. Yeah, well, you're the great riddle master, he says. Mock me for that? No. See, I don't think what Tiresias does is really mocking him. He's saying, come on, Oedipus. You're the one who said you're the great riddle solver. Solve the riddle. Oedipus, Tiresias, your great good fortune. True, it was your ruin. What was his ruin? Solving the riddle of the Sphinx. If he'd been eaten by the Sphinx, none of this other stuff would have happened. Well, Laius would have still been killed. Your great good fortune, that is, it was your good fortune that you solved the riddle of the Sphinx. It was your ruin. Not if I saved the city. How could it be my ruin when I saved the city? Why did he have to solve the riddle? What will come, will come. He killed Laius. What's the second part of the prophecy? He has to sleep with his mother. Tiresias, I'll be going. Oedipus says, get him away, get him out of here. So, Oedipus turns his back on Tiresias and starts to walk towards the palace. Tiresias isn't done, though. He says, I'll go once I have said what I came here to say. I will never shrink from the anger in your eyes. You can't destroy me. Who's the you in your he's referring to? Oedipus. He's talking to Oedipus's back. I think at that point he's looking at Oedipus as Oedipus walks away. And he is possibly speaking loud enough for Oedipus to hear. So that Oedipus probably walks away and just, throws him a bird, so to speak. You can't destroy me. Listen to me closely. The man you've sought so long, proclaiming, cursing up and down the murder of Laius, he is here. A stranger, you may think. Now, the you that he's talking about here, the man you sought, and a stranger you may think, he's not talking to Oedipus anymore, I don't think. I think now he's turned. He's facing the chorus. Because bear in mind, the chorus stands for, represents all the people of Thebes. You guys think that the murderer may be a stranger who lives among you. He soon will be revealed a native Theban. That is, born in Thebes. I didn't say born and bred, just born. But he will take no joy in the revelation. Blind who now has eyes, beggar who now is rich, he will grope his way toward a foreign soil, a stick tapping before him step by step. That's prophecy. That's exactly what we see happen in Oedipus at Colonus. He's going to have the stick by the end of the play. Oedipus goes into the palace. So, strictly speaking, he can't hear the rest. He could have heard all of that. Revealed at last, brother and father both, to the children he embraces, to his mother, son, and husband both. He sowed the loins his father sowed, he spilled his father's blood. Go in and reflect on that. Now, who does hear that? The chorus, the people of Thebes. That's pretty clear. Oedipus slept with his mother, produced his brothers and sisters, children. He killed his father. The people of Thebes have now heard that. Okay? Oedipus doesn't hear that part. Yet, Tiresias says, go in and reflect on that. That implies what? That implies that he thinks Oedipus does hear it. Why might he think that? Because he can't physically see Oedipus leave. Okay? Chorus comes out. Who is the man the voice of God denounces resounding out of the rocking gorge of Delphi? Who's he talking to? That is, who is the God announcing is the murderer? Okay? Hold on, maybe I need to double check something. So nobody from the chorus, probably during that, they're not moving around. They're in that orchestra, that pit down in front, okay? But now they take center stage. Or not center stage, but they walk across and do their lines. So they talk about Apollo, etc. They talk about the person who killed Laius, left no trace. 550. The skilled prophet scans the birds and shatters me with terror. I can't accept him, can't deny him, don't know what to say. The prophet does what? Scans the signs, and the chorus says, I can't believe what he's saying. That's why they go back to Apollo. Who is it? Who, Apollo? I can't believe what Tiresias says, that it's Oedipus, and yet I can't deny him. Why can't the chorus deny Tiresias or Tiresias' words? Goes back to this. He's a prophet. He is a foreteller and a forth-teller. He tells the truth. And as I said the other day, in all the history of Greek myth and literature where Tiresias comes in, he's never been wrong. That's why I can't believe this. I can't deny this. I don't know what to say. Okay? So, Crayon comes in and says, I hear Oedipus has been bad-mouthing me. He's leveled charges against me. I don't know what prompted it. But he says that I'm a traitor. Leader, true. But a slur might have been forced out of him. He didn't mean it. We don't know what he really intended by it. Okay? Crayon, but the charge was made in public. He publicly said to you, I conspired with Tiresias to kill Laius. Yeah, such things were said, but I don't know what intent. What's the leader trying to do? Not get caught between the rock and the hard place. The hard place is Oedipus, the rock is Crayon. The leader is trying to find some kind of wiggle room so that he doesn't anger Crayon and so that he doesn't anger Oedipus. Why is he worried about angering Crayon? Because Crayon's going to tell us in just a few minutes how powerful he is in Thebes. Oedipus comes out. You here? I can't believe you'd have the gall to show up. Okay? talks about his treachery, blah, blah, blah. Crayon, 607. Are you quite finished? Would you shut the hell up? And the Oedipus just keeps going, okay? So, Oedipus says, 621, did you tell me to send for the prophet? Yeah, I'd do it again too. Okay, tell me. How long ago since what are we talking about Laius for? Since Laius vanished, Oedipus finishes his thought. How long has it been since Laius was murdered? Whew, boy, that's a long time. How long ago? I mentioned the other day. Oedipus had several sons as well as his 2 daughters. His sons are all moved out. They're at least in their late teens too. The oldest, probably early 20s. It's been at least that long since Laius was killed. That's not the point though. Oedipus' point is, okay, so whenever that was, whenever Laius was killed, was the prophet at his trade? Again, was he taking money to prophesy then? Skilled as he is today and just as honored, he doesn't address the trade part. He's addressing the prophecy part. He was just as good then as he is now. In other words, Tiresias hasn't lost anything in the intervening years. It's not Oedipus' point. Did he mention me then? All those years ago? Did he say a word about me? Look at Crayon's response. It's very precise. No, never. At least when I was in his presence. He's implying, I obviously have not been with Tiresias every moment of his life. He might have said something about you to somebody else, but I am not aware of that. Okay? But you did investigate, yes, of course. And he never accused me then. Why not? Again, Crayon's response, I don't know. And when I don't, I keep quiet. Slam. Oedipus, when you don't know something, what do? Blame others. It seems to be a particular, I shouldn't go there, but I'm going to. It seems to be a particular fault of politicians, all stripes. They don't know something, shift the blame. Okay? You do know this, and you tell it too if you had, what is it I know? If the two of you never put your heads together, I wouldn't be accused. We would never have heard of my killing Laius. Crap, well, if that's what he says, you know best. I never heard Tiresias say that, is what Crayon is saying. Why? He wasn't on the stage. If you say that's what he says, then you know better than I do. Okay? Oedipus, you'll never convict me of murder. Crayon, you're married to my sister, right? And at that point, Oedipus has got to do the same kind of thing Crayon did earlier. What does this have to do with my sister? Your sister? Yeah. And you rule, yeah. With equal, yeah. And I'm the third, all of us equals. What's his point? The three of us rule the land with equal power. Crayon has a long speech. What is he suggesting? Who actually rules the land? And by rule, I mean has to solve the problems of thieves. Who has to deal with laws? Who has to deal with justice? Oedipus. Who gets to fly Air Force One or Marine One or go to Camp David whenever he wants? To use a more modern metaphor, Crayon does. Crayon gets all the perks of the office, but doesn't have any of the responsibilities. What's his point? Oedipus, why would I want your job? Why would I want to be president when I get all the fun of being president without having to use, let's just stay with modern America, without having to deal with Congress, without having to deal with the border, without having to deal with Ukraine, China, Iran, pick your problem. He's like, get to just party all the time. Who would want your job? And notice what the leader says towards the end of it. Because Oedipus says, Tiresias says, you want proof? Go to Delphi. You go to Delphi yourself. Okay? His point is, you're jumping to conclusions. And that's when their leader says, good advice, Lord. One should never jump to conclusions. Why? Because that indicates rashness. When my enemy moves against me quickly, plots in secret, I move quickly too. I must do what? Plot and pay him back. I know it's time to go, but just one last thing. What's he getting at here? Where is it? It's not up here. Yes, it is. Right here. After 9/11, the Bush administration came up with the doctrine of preemptive war. And that was, if we believe someone is going to attack us, we have evidence of that, we're going to attack them first. That's what Oedipus has just said. If I find out people are plotting and conspiring against me, I'm going to hit them first. Okay? Who did we attack because of this? Anybody know? Most of you probably weren't alive. Iraq. Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. Iran did. If anything, we should have attacked Iran. But the Bush family had all debts to settle, right? Monday, when we come back, we'll pick up around line 695 or so. We'll finish the play. I'm going to put up, I have not put up the quiz yet. I'm going to put up a quiz that will be over all of the background information stuff about drama in the entirety of the play. The quiz will not be due until Wednesday night at the earliest, all right? So I suggest don't do it until after we finish discussing the play on Monday. Do remember the exam that is due tonight, okay? And even though you can't see your points on the previous quizzes, you can go back and look at those quizzes. They do show the correct answers, correct? Okay, that's the important part. If you want to know how you did, just ask me. It really bothers me that it doesn't show. But I can tell you, I've got the grades all written down. All right.